Hello everyone, and welcome to my channel, Cooking for the Family. I'm Dyvonne, and today I'm going to share with y'all how I make my linguine and clams. Tonight's dinner is special. This is our date night in for myself and my husband. I cannot wait to share with you how I make my linguine and clams, how to clean the clams, and how to make the best date night meal so special. So first what we're going to do is we're going to start by cleaning our clams. Now cleaning the clams is so important because you don't want to end up with any kind of grit or sand at all in your linguines, in your dish, and so it's important to clean them. Now you see here I do have a broken one, and if they're broken like this, you don't want to use those. We're just going to toss those. Those are just no good. And also when you open up your packaging, if you have any clams that are already kind of open, and if you kind of tap on them, if they don't automatically close back tight, you also want to discard those. So you want your clams, when you open the package of your clams or you're buying them from the store, you want to go through and look at them. You want them to be nice and sealed tight around the edges. Now there's different ways to clean your clams, and I'll share with you some of those ways. But the way that I like to clean my clams is I take a nice sturdy paper towel, and actually I have two paper towels here that I've folded over, and as the cold water is running, I use the paper towel, and you want to use a good quality paper towel when you're doing this, and I'm wiping the grit off of the clams, off of the shells, and also around the edge of the shells and the sides. And so I do this and I go through clam by clam. Now this is 5 pounds of clams that we are cleaning. With this recipe, you can use as little as 2 pounds of clams or up to 5 pounds of clams. Just with the recipe, you're just going to end up having more of that clam juice that's going to come off the clams, and that's kind of going to be the difference with this. But you see, I just take my paper towels, and I'm going to end up going through a couple of sets of my napkin folded over like that, and just rub really good. You want to rub really good because you've got a little bit of that residue on there, you've got some grit on there, you've got some sand on there. And so the first step to cleaning your clams is you want to clean them really good from the outside. Now you want to use 2 bowls just like I'm doing here, and so once my bowl is full with water, I use the other bowl, and as I'm wiping and going through like this, as you see my paper towel, it's got some brown on it and a little bit of gray, and that's from me cleaning them. And you see how this is nice and sealed? That's what you want from your clams. And so you want to go through and inspect each clam that you're using. Nothing will ruin a wonderful linguine and clams dish, or if you're doing steamed clams, then to bite down on grit. That is just like, ugh, we don't want that. And so you just want to go through and just clean them really good. So now that I've cleaned my clams and I've gone through, and you're going to end up needing about 40 to 45 clams roughly, around there. About 40 to 45 clams is what you're going to need for your dish. Now in the description box below, I will have a list of all the ingredients you need to make this wonderful linguine and clams, but what I'm sharing with you is how to put it together. Now you see in my bowl, there was already, when I dumped out that original water, there was already a little bit of sand left from the clams, because also the clams have a little bit of sand inside of them, and so we're going to also have the clams expel that excess sand out of them. And I'll share with you how I like to do that. Now what I'm doing is I'm giving my clams a once over and taking them back from the second bowl back into the first bowl, and just kind of going over them with the cold running water, just like I'm doing with that. Just go over with them with the cold running water, and I just kind of brush my thumb across them just to make sure that there's no of that excess dirt or grit or anything that's on the outside of our clams. Now another way that you can also clean your clams is by using a small brush, just like a small brush with like soft bristles, not too firm, but just using a small brush, a small sink brush, and just scrubbing the outside of the clams. And that's another way that you can also clean your clams, to loosen up and get rid of any dirt or any grit that's on the outside. Now that we've cleaned the clams, now we want to expel any sand that they may be holding inside their shell. So I'm using some kosher salt, and in my bowl of water, I'm putting in 2 tablespoons of kosher salt. Then once I put the salt in, I just kind of mix around the clams, just kind of like move them around just a little bit, put a little bit more water in my bowl, and I just kind of like rotate the clams with my hand just like that. And so that way, just to kind of wake them up a bit and get them to kind of open up just a bit so they can take in some of that coarse salt that we put in the water. I'm also going to put a little bit of ice cubes in the water just to keep the water nice and chilled while they sit. And they're going to sit for about 30 minutes, about 25 to 30 minutes, just like this. Now, while our clams are sitting in the water, what I like to do is I go on and I start to prepare our other ingredients. So we have 6 cloves of garlic, and I'm just going to go on and give my garlic a nice thin slice, just like this, like you're kind of slicing them like sliced almonds. And while I'm doing this, I also have a large pot of water on the stove boiling for our linguine. Then we have our flat leaf parsley, and we're going to need about 3 tablespoons of flat leaf parsley. About 2 to 3 tablespoons of the flat leaf parsley we usually do. So now what we're going to do is we're going to take our clams and drain them into our strainer. Now when I'm doing this and I see that there's like some of the residue and the sand has come off, and then what you want to do is once you drain them, go on and rinse them in cold water and just let them set aside, because they are now going to be going into our pan. So in my pan, I put a half a cup of extra virgin olive oil. We're going to let that go on and become warm. While our pan is warming with our olive oil in it, I put some salt into my boiling water because we want to have a little bit of salt in the water that we're going to put our linguine. We're going to use 1 pound of linguine, and then once our linguine starts to get going, we're only going to cook it until it's al dente, because our linguine is going to finish cooking in that wonderful sauce that's going to come off of our clams and that we're going to be building in that pot. And so now I'm going to put in our garlic, and I'm putting in the 6 cloves of sliced garlic into our warm olive oil. Okay, and you see how it's starting to sizzle around the sides, our garlic. That's exactly what we want to do. We want to go on and saute our garlic until it gets a little toasty around the edges, just a little bit. That's going to take just a couple of minutes. Also, when you're using your pan, you want to make sure that you have a wide bottom pan with sides that are at least 4 inches tall, because we're going to be building the linguine is going to go in here and our clams as well. And if you are new to my channel, welcome in. And for all my returners, welcome back. I hope that you are enjoying the channel and spending time with me in my kitchen. If you are not subscribed to my channel yet, I invite you to hit that subscribe button. It is free, and become one of my awesome subscribers. Now, once we have our garlic is nice and toasty, we're going to go and add in a little bit of butter. And this is 2 tablespoons of butter. And this is unsalted butter. I just like to add in a little bit of butter for that little extra richness for our dish. Now, once our butter starts to dissolve a bit, we're going to go on and add in our clams. And so you put in all the clams at once, move them around just to kind of like shake them a little bit. And then once we put our clams in, we're going to put in some wine, and we're going to be using a dry wine. I'm using a Chardonnay, and you want to use either a Chardonnay or a Pinot Grigio, any kind of a dry white wine, not a sparkling wine. And then I put in, with the wine, I put in 1 cup of wine. We like our clams linguine a little bit saucy, so I'm using 1 cup. If you want it a little bit less saucy, you can just use half a cup if you like. So I had my flame on high, and you see how our clams are starting to open. This is after about 5 minutes, and I give the clams about maybe 5 to 12 minutes maximum to have all of them open. If they haven't all opened by 12 minutes, whichever ones have not opened, we just go on and discard those. So you put your top back on and you let them continue to just pop open, because we don't want to overcook our clams. Overcooked clams are going to end up being rubbery, and we don't want rubbery clams. So 12 minutes is usually about the max that I'll go. And so our clams are looking good. You see all that wonderful sauce that our clams have made with the wine and the olive oil, the garlic and the butter, and all that wonderful brine that has come off of our clams. It's looking so good. Now, if you don't want to use wine, you can also use a low sodium chicken broth or chicken stock in place of the wine, in place of the white wine. But also in the description box below, we'll have that information for you noted as well. So once the clams have opened up, I scoop them out and I'm looking to see if any have not opened. Any are closed, we just go on it and we toss those. But it looks like our clams, we had a good batch of clams. So all of our clams have opened up, and then I scoop out any clams that have come out of their shell. Next, we're going to add in a little bit of crushed red pepper flakes just for a little bit of spice. I'm going to be putting in a half a teaspoon. Now, if you want yours a little less spicy, you can put in a fourth of a teaspoon. And if you want just a little bit of spice, just a hint, then you could just use a pinch. Now, after I put the pepper flakes in, I let it cook for about 1 or 2 minutes, just to let it simmer just for a moment. And then I'm going to taste it for flavor to see if we need to add any more seasoning. Now we will be adding some nice fresh squeezed lemon, that we're going to add some nice fresh squeezed lemon to our pan, as well as we're going to add some nice fresh squeezed lemon on top of our dish once it's all nice and done. Now I've went on and I've drained our linguine, and I add the linguine directly to the pot. When you add the linguine in, you want to drain your linguine, but you don't want to rinse it. You still want a little bit of that starchiness that's on your pasta, so that way your pasta and the sauce just starts to meld together and just get absorbed. Now, while I'm tossing the pasta, I put in 1 tablespoon of our chopped fresh parsley, mix it around and just kind of toss the pasta around. And then I'm going to squeeze in half of a nice fresh lemon all over, just like that. Just squeeze a half of a nice fresh lemon. That is going to brighten up our dish. And of course, lemon and seafood go so well together. And to my linguine and clams, I like to add in 1 more tablespoon of butter. And I'm just going to put the butter in and let the butter just start to melt from the heat from the pan. And also right now my pan, I went on and I turned it off. I had my pan was on like a low. Then we can go on and turn it off at this point now. And then that butter really helps to add a little extra richness. And now what I like to do is add my clams back into my pot with the linguine and with the sauce. And when I add them back in, some I'll keep in the shells and some I'll take out of the shells. And during the cooking process of the clams, some of the clams came apart from the shells, and we're going to add those back in as well. It also keeps our pot from getting overcrowded with the shells and with the pasta as well. Now our dinner tonight for our date night in cost us about $30. I got 5 pounds of clams at $3.99 a pound, and so that was $19.95 for the 5 pounds of clams that I used tonight. Now my pasta was $2 for the package of pasta, and then our wine, the Chardonnay, was $6. Anytime that you get a wine that you're cooking with, for me, I always like to shoot for the best one I could get for under $10. And so our wine tonight was $6 and it was perfect. Now I'm going to top off our dish with the rest of that wonderful flat leaf parsley. Our wonderful date night dinner in is ready. It was very reasonably priced for 2 people. This is going to be enough for the kids to have some later as well. Well, I thank you for spending time with me today in my kitchen. If you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, go on and hit that subscribe button. If you like this video, don't forget to show it some love. Give it a thumbs up and click share, and share this video with a friend or family. And remember, it's always good when Dyvonne is cooking for the family. I'll see you on the next one. Bye-bye, everybody.